Just as a student here at SMU, I have like a full schedule of classes and things like that. How do I make a difference? How do I just stop talking and proceed to action? Like, how does that even start?
Well, you got to realize, first of all, we all outside of college have full-time jobs. We have full-time children.
Full-time job and 3 children.
Yes, full-time job, 4 children. And we find it in our schedule to sit here at 9 o'clock to sit here and speak in front of you guys. So it's always a schedule. I'm a director of sales at my job. I manage over 78 outside sales across the country, but I find a way to make it. I find a way to make a schedule and make the, and being able to do everything and find a way to get a group of staff members that can use their schedules. We all utilize our schedules in the best way of our ability. There's room that we can all make an impact in it, but we must all come together at one agenda so that we can balance out all our schedules. We have different people in our NGA and staff. We all have full-time jobs. We're not paid by NGA and we all have full-time jobs. So we spread out different things, different responsibilities for different people to address the issue in whatever project that we're on to address it, so that everything, when it all comes together, it's just like someone that is doing this full time. So we all must just do our part and really take it serious. If y'all are protesting or trying to ask the student senate or whatever it may be, like the University of Texas in Austin, they wanted a more cultural diverse of stuff into the study and into the class about the African American culture, and they went and they all did it all together. They came up with the research, all the stuff or whatever, and it was almost 20 students, and they all used their time and efforts, and it got done. It was just voted in last week.
It's a testament to those first African Americans who ever went to school. How do you balance fighting for the right to sit in a downtown restaurant and try to go to school at the same time while being beaten? I think it goes back to the passion that you have inside of yourself to want to change. I don't want you guys to get the idea that we think SMU is just all bad. Because I've sat on Senate and I really enjoyed it and really opened my eyes to a lot of things. But I understand that the black student body, I feel like, is sometimes silent on their issues, and I want those issues to be resolved. I've had times in Bridwell where I've had to check out books to an African American undergrad girl, and she doesn't have to say anything to me, but as a sister, I can look at her eyes and know she's discouraged. I can look at her eyes and know she's hurting, or that she doesn't feel that this is her place, but she has to do this because she started the race, and she has to prove something. So I think that all of us in here are leaders. I mean, I've seen all of you in different leadership capacities. I think that the leadership has to kind of shift from I know it's a lot of hours, I know it's tough, I know you have to work extra hard, but I think that you guys maybe want to begin to kind of take it 30 minutes, 10 minutes, when you see your brothers and sisters, or if you see, one of your peers, white, black, green, yellow, stop. Don't say, hey, how you doing, girls? Good to see you. I'm going to see you later. Stop. How are you doing? How is your heart? How's everything going? Have you experienced anything odd lately? Let's talk about it, because last week I had an experience. I think that oftentimes we walk past each other and we don't talk, so there can't be any unity because we don't talk to each other. We just look at each other. So I think it's very key that, we start to take those 5, 10, 15, 20-minute intervals of just kind of trying to do something small. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's just going to a study group 3 of you from one biology class because you're struggling and you need some help. I think that we as students have got to put aside our pride. And we've got to put aside all of our differences, and we've really got to kind of create a united front. Because you guys next year, you're heading into now in America is very, very hot. And I know each of you know that. It's very, very hard for people of color in America right now, in its society. And if you don't know that, then, oh Lord, I don't know where you've been, or you've been in La La Land. So you've got to, this next year and years after, you guys have got to form a strong allegiance. And you've got to be able to push through. When there's an issue in the Dallas community, they don't have mentors, these black kids can't read, they can't write, that's your job. That 5 or 10 minutes doesn't have to be a protest. It doesn't have to be a, I'm mad about this at SMU. It can be a, you know what? I'm about to go down here to South Dallas with 10 of my friends because I have time just to read. Just to tell a brother, I did it and so can you. These kids over there look here and say, man, I really wish I could go to SMU. And I look at them and say, why would you say something like that? And they say, SMU is so far out my grasp. But you're 2 miles away from SMU, but it's so much out your grasp. So I think that we've got to begin to unify ourselves on campus, but also to unify ourselves with the community, because we have the power. All of you are intelligent, and all of you have some type of little bitty time just to walk by the classroom and say, hey, I go to SMU, I'm just here to say you can do it. So I think that it falls upon us to kind of take up the task and make these small increments of time, whether it be off campus or whether it be on campus. The change will have a ripple effect.
Suggestion, like somebody in your class, you don't know them, just talk to them. I mean, like you're working in a group project, like there are little tiny moments you can just create for yourself and for other people. It doesn't have to be like, although like I would love to be able to do what Ailey does and just like go out to schools and stuff. And I'm sure if like I cared enough, I would make that time. But I think it's really, you have to like be willing to seek out those moments and create them, because there are people everywhere. There's no shortage of people. Like even in this room, like you could take a couple, like 5 seconds, like how are you doing? I think that's probably the most important part, but I totally not diminishing your problem, because I think that's one that a lot of us share, of like trying to figure out, like, should I like combat this huge issue, or should I be like focusing on my education? Because it's a huge confliction that like a lot of us are dealing with, but a lot of people don't even see or want to see or care about.
The comments I wanted to make was regarding an excursion I had over spring break. I went on the SMU Civil Rights Pilgrimage, which I recommend to Mackenzie. Yes, Garrett. I just want to kind of plug that a little bit, because it's a really good program that if you want to get a scholarship, there is an opportunity for that, all that kind of stuff. So next spring break, start preparing for that. But the reason I want to talk about it is because as we talk about the movement, we talked about the civil rights movement. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but I'm an African American woman. So I kind of knew a little bit about black people in the civil rights movement. I was like, yeah, we did all that, yes, blah, blah, blah. And what's interesting, as I went on this trip, I started seeing all different types of people. And in these pictures, there were white women, there were white men, there were Jewish people, there were people of every nationality and color, size, height, whatever. There was just all kinds of people. And so as I'm looking at the work we have to do now, it's going to be the same thing. Because if you look at the civil rights movement, if you track the civil rights movement, it was the most prominent movement probably in the history of the world. Because people were organized, people depended on each other, people weren't looking at their skin color. They were like, you're my brother, you're my sister, okay, how can I help you? And a really good example of this is how we talk about, I don't want to, like someone might say now, I don't want to protest. What can I do? Especially as a student, I have all these jobs, or I'm in school, how do I, find a job to do? There were people in the civil rights movement and today that just made sandwiches. There are people who just offered their bed. There were people who just offered a text message. Not then, but now. There were people who just called around and said, hey, is there somewhere you need to stay? We all have a job, especially as, children of the world, but children of the kingdom. We all have a brick to lay, we all have somewhere to be, we all have someone to help. And it's just a matter of what do you want to do, not can you do, because you have the ability to do it, because you have breath in your body, therefore you can do it. You just have to make a choice to do it. And so I think when it comes to being a student at SMU, a lot of times it's like, for me personally, I feel like I'm kind of just on the front lines a lot. Because it's like, what do you think about this, Maya? Because, you know, you're black and you're a woman, you're kind of a 2-for-1 coupon, you know? Express what you feel about this issue. And you know, it's kind of interesting, is I take pride in that, and so I'll speak extra loud so people will be sure to understand what I have to say about an issue. But if anything, I'll just encourage you to know that we're all gonna have to do something. And it's not gonna necessarily be this, it's not gonna look the same for everyone. For me, I can just sing, you know, a good note. I don't have to go do a protest if I want to protest.
Yes.
But if I want to give an uplifting song, if I want to, you know, steer the troops on, I can do that. If I want to make, you can sing too?
Yes, we got
No.
we need to sing. We need to sing too.
You better sing.
Nah.
But I just want to encourage, and I also want to thank you guys for being here. We appreciate your presence. We also appreciate Paul Quinn for being here. Thank you very much. And I definitely think this collaboration of many organizations coming together is what's going to be the key. And the last thing I'll say is something I did not know, but what I learned on this trip was during the Montgomery bus boycott, there were, you know, many people were walking because they didn't want, you know, they weren't riding the buses, they weren't going to give money to these white corporations. And so in short, I'll just say, okay, so these people are walking, but not everyone can walk to their job because their jobs are kind of far. So then people in the movement, key people, decided, you know what, let's make a taxi service. So I was like, okay, that's kind of smart. But of course they ran into like issues with the law and all this stuff. So then they found churches to get church vans, and they used the church vans as taxis. And so that money that they earned went into the movement, and it was what fueled, you know, certain things that they had to pay for and expenses. But I say that to say, I love whoever said the movement is logical, not radical, because we have to be very specific. Thank you, Ashley. We have to be very specific in what we choose to do.
Yes.
And, okay, I kind of lied because I got one more thing to say. Anyway, the last thing I'll say, because I don't know, you know, be too much, because a lot of people need to say something. But the last thing I'll say is, I was in the laundry room the other day, and this girl came in, and the way I operate is when you come in the room and you see me, you need to greet me. You know, I don't know, that's just me. Like, I'm a beautiful vessel, you need to acknowledge that. You don't need to just walk past me and get your laundry like we're not standing here. We both get laundry, you know, hey, what's up? You know, you don't have to get, you know, too deep, but I always find myself in situations like that being like, oh my God, I can't believe she didn't say nothing to me. And then I stopped myself and I just turned and said, good morning, how you doing? And she was like, oh, I'm good. And you should have seen her face because it was like, I stunned her that I could speak and say hello and not be a threat to her. Just because I'm a black woman, I'm a threat. And the thing is, why? Why did you get afraid? Like, we're doing laundry, I have no weapons. Like, I mean, give me the tee and some jeans. I mean, I guess I can like try to tie you up, but that's about it. So I'll just try to encourage you to say, try to break down what people think about you. Be the opposite of what people think you're going to do. And not because you owe it to them, but because you owe it to yourself. Because you want to be the best person for yourself, not for anybody else. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. When you go to bed at night, it's you who sleep and not them. And that's it. Okay?